June 27th. What up, dentist? Zero to the cool. A Moose sighting is here. Dude, Monday Madness with Moose is back. It's a Monday edition. But we got Dennis and we got Scallops here too. You know,
Sponsored by Vemto. Not
Vemto.
really, but I wish they would be a sponsor.
Dude, it's good to do a show on Monday to open up the week. I don't know if everybody's like me. I always look at YouTube to see if my favorite content creators are uploading content or doing a live stream. So I'm excited to do this and host. I got my fellow panel members here, and we're going to talk a little bit about AT&T and prices. We're also going to talk about AT&T's recent commentary about fixed wireless access. And then lastly, I want to share my initial impressions on XFinity Mobile as I'm starting to make content now. Right. So I wanted to test it. I wanted to just general use, see how it performed. Now I'm going to start creating content. I've already done some footage. I've recorded video. I'm editing. I've got to make thumbnails. I got to do some more testing. I'm going to test some different things like comparatively. How does it, do up against like Verizon postpaid? Those types of videos I think are up and coming. And then just general usage. I'm basically using it as a mostly driver. I'm not doing much calling on it. I've had a couple of calls, but it seems fine. It's Verizon. So, I want to give you guys my first impressions. So, Dennis, you'll be excited about that. Right. And zero to the cool, we're going to be talking about the ghost of Randall, so you'll get a kick out of that. Let's just go ahead and start with this first story, man. I think I just got to link it here and I'll put that for you guys. It's in the show notes too, for those watching it. #replay_crew. It's in the live chat now, so you should be good. Hey, Wolf Howling, good to see you, man. He said he's in Chicago. He's traveling the U.S. Very cool. Very nice. All right, let me do the screen share, and then we can get this thing going here. There we go. All right. AT&T. What's that?
I was going to say, read your title, and then I'm going to come with a hot take.
All right. AT&T CFO warns it could raise prices again if inflation persists. All right, look, man. This is not if inflation persists. This is 100% going to happen. Inflation is here, and it's going to be here for a while. Pricing is not going down. Pricing is not staying the same. AT&T is doing it again. They are priming us up for another price hike. I don't see it playing out any other way. All right. So, Dennis, Mr. Hot Take, go ahead.
I'm going to say what I said the first time AT&T raised prices, and it's not because of inflation. AT&T is raising prices to raise profits. Point blank, simple as that. They see an opportunity to raise their profit margins even higher, get that ARPU even higher, and so they're taking advantage of it. And the reason they're doing this is twofold. One is because 5G didn't do what LTE did for the carriers. There has not been any new ways to monetize 5G wireless yet from a capacitive standpoint, especially for AT&T, who is so deeply invested in the traditional fiber product. That's number one. And number two is because as far as growth is concerned in the US, there's not many ways to add lines at this point. It's really just taking from one person or another. And for all intents and purposes, while one carrier might have a quarter where they do a little bit better than others, it's kind of leveling out to the point now where we're seeing a pretty established pecking order as far as subscribers goes for the networks. There's not that much change that's going to happen. It's not going to be like 2013 where T-Mobile's having literally like 2 million growth years types of deals. And it's definitely not going to happen for AT&T. So they're raising prices in the only way that makes sense, while also trying to continue to cut expenditures for the ever hopeful thing that stockholders want, which is continued growth from companies to please their shareholders.
The CFO gave some details as to like the reason, I suppose. Dennis gave his explanation, but here's what the CFO said. AT&T is planning for a fairly healthy level of inflation built into the 2022 budget at the end of last year. The inflationary environment is running hotter than anticipated. meaning AT&T is facing increased costs for labor, supplies, energy, and transport. All right, so labor, meaning people you have to pay hourly, right? And people that are on salaries or contracted work. Supplies would be everything from what it takes to install and build the network, operational costs, consumables, whatever. Energy, right? You got to power everything that you house and warehouse and all the retail space and all the headquarters and the rent and all this, transport and stuff like that. The this is a little bit exaggerated, right? Because and this is why I agree with Dennis a little bit. The number of increases is not going to stop at 1. The number of increases is not going to stop at 2. I firmly believe we're going to see 3 or 4 like fee increase or cost increase, whatever. There's like Jump, and there's all these little programs where they can add an additional dollar or two here and there. Collectively, it's going to earn them more money. There's proof and evidence of this. At the same conference, the CFO literally said, our margins are going to improve in the back end of the year. 100% it is happening. They are going to raise costs again. And it is because of those cost increases, they are going to improve their margins. And that is going to help 2 people. Everybody at AT&T, so like, AT&T executives, right? Them, and it's going to help shareholders. Confidence in buying shares, confidence in the dividend being paid. People are going to sink their teeth in. And by the way, people look at telco shares as a safe haven. It's got a dividend. The value is pretty much flat while the whole market is going down, right? Some stocks have gone down 20, 30, 40, 50%. Prior growth stocks are down 80, 90%. You look like a Kathy Wood and her crazy arc stupidity of whatever she was doing. Innovation apparently means 90% losses, right? But without getting into too much of that, like, this is disingenuous. The environment is running hotter. Are you kidding me? You either don't know what you're doing or you're lying. So which one is it?
Oh,
I
he's
like to think that AT&T is some of the most intelligent people in the industry. So to me, they're lying.
he's lying, bro. I
So
mean,
they're
let me translate this for you. Basically, AT&T is planning for a very healthy balance sheet near the end of the quarter. We don't care about inflation, and we're going to nor do we care about overhead expenses either, such as labor, supplies, energy, or transport. Basically, in this article,
Isn't
they raised
transport like contracted like 2-3 years ahead?
some of it is, yeah. But I mean, basically, they haven't raised their prices. The first time they did was back in 2019, and then back in May was the most recent where they raised their prices, the older packages
The
by
first
6.
prices, Zero Cool, to go up were DSL in 2021.
Right, right. But I'm just saying, like, back in May, they increased their price by $6 a month for single line, $12 a month for families, right? So, um, it's this. If they're going to do it again, it has nothing to do, in my opinion, with inflation. This has to do with they want to have money for the network expenditures, right? Bolstering the network. What's the one thing they keep on saying? Make fiber number one, right? Well, that costs money,
Right.
right? So how are you going to do it? You have to, how are you going to increase your capex? Well, you have to make money somewhere, and this is the way to do it, right? So, I mean, a good example, where do you take if you want to take your significant other to the most, to a great high priced restaurant, where do you take her? The gas station.
You can get a corned beef
So
sandwich at the gas station.
No, that's a joke, man. The gas prices.
So Sneed, and Zero Cool. There is a kernel of truth to costs rising in the short term. AT&T, if there was a big like graph that outlines costs over like a big span of time, like the next 10 years, AT&T is just talking about like the next 2. They're looking at this part of the graph. Short-term rise, even if inflation wasn't a thing, costs would be going up because of the 5G build-out, because of the fiber build-out, because of the increased cost of trying to maintain their legacy DSL. Like, these are all things that would drive up cost. The thing that everybody forgets to mention, though, or forgets to focus on, or what happens once we get past this wall, right? Once AT&T gets done modernizing their network, their cost of operation goes down because that means they built out more fiber. They're not leasing in places, right? Owner's economics. That pays for itself. Same thing with their fiber product, right? Once they get done building out fiber and ripping out this DSL, the cost for maintaining fiber is significantly cheaper, and they're going to be getting more customers. They're going to be getting more customers, means more money natively just from that. Not to mention the fund bucks that are coming from the government to roll out these fiber projects. So it's not like AT&T is just doing this out of the kindness of their heart for a lot of places, right? They're getting fund bucks from us. And then also, the last thing I just want to touch on is that AT&T, if you look at their actual expenditure over the years, it's consistently been going down. They just had that massive spinoff to get rid of so much debt that came from, having the Time Warner content with like the new Disney thing that they combined, right? So that instantly freed up so much capital for them, and which also means that their actual interest payments on the debt that they have also went down proportionally with that shed off of all that bad debt. So AT&T is in the most profitable point that they've ever been at and has no reason to really justify these cost increases. It's strictly for profits. It's strictly because they didn't want to take the 1 to 2% hit on their profit margins in these next couple of years. They want to go up, and they know that once they get past this hurdle, once all these modernizations are going to be done, their profit margins are going to look healthier than ever. Their ARPU is going to look healthier than ever, and it's just strictly to please shareholders and top leadership, which I'm not blaming them for being a company, right? Private companies are going to do what private companies do, which is maximize profits. That's their whole reason for existing. They're not here to be our friends. But on the same token, we as consumers need to keep them accountable. If we just fall into what the CFO says, that this is really what's going on, and we continue to pay these higher prices just because they say so, then they're going to keep raising prices until it's no longer bearable on us. They're going to charge whatever the maximum amount of money is they can charge to consumers.
Yeah, but if AT&T doesn't take advantage of this, like we're talking about like investors and shareholders and stuff like that, if they don't maximize profits during this moment, the investors will leave. They know that this is an opportunity to do this, especially I don't know, I guess I should probably be careful with my phrasing here. The non-retail investor may not understand this, the retail investor, but the institutional investors know all these companies are increasing costs. Did you see what FedEx just reported?
I did not know.
FedEx is reporting guidance like through the next year or two. Shipping costs are going to increase with regularity. The amount of shipping is going to decrease. The volume of shipments is going to decrease. And what happened to their stock? Up. They're rewarding profitability. They're not rewarding volume. You know what I mean? So like you're going to see a company like AT&T bouncing on the opportunity. Same thing with Verizon. Literally, there's going to be one thing that's going to save Hans Vestberg's job. And it's going to be that the company is more profitable than it's ever been because they were able to raise pricing a little bit. Right? He's literally, you could make the argument, he's on the hottest of hot seats right now in all of telco.
Are we ready for this? Because I've been hearing a lot of BS. I've been hearing a lot of shit.
All right,
and
Moose,
let's get real down to business.
I'm going to give you the floor, Moose. Super chat from EMT. Thank you so much. He said, is this going to affect FirstNet? I don't think so. I don't see anything planned for FirstNet, and I don't expect anything on the FirstNet side. But if something changes in the future and I get some information, I'll be updating the channel. Thanks for the super chat, sir. Go ahead, Moose.
Okay, so one thing that people have forgotten, the playbook of T-Mobile, is in order for T-Mobile to become more profitable without raising the prices, they have forced consumers to go to the Magenta MAX plan, which is their highest ARPU product, okay? Mark my words, what I'm about to tell you, the iPhone 14 promotions are going to be exclusively for the Magenta MAX. exclusively. Magenta and Essentials and whatever the hell else they have are not going to be getting the top tier promotion. We already saw that in the iPhone 13 era. So what I'm telling you is not out of the question because it already happened. But this might be the first year where the entire industry will have to do the same thing because they need to increase profit without reducing price. So if you can read between the lines, you can figure out what's going to happen. When Pascal was saying that their margins are going to look better, their margins are not going to look better because of a $1 increase or a $5 increase. That's pennies. That's a couple tens of millions of dollars, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why the margins are going to look better is because more and more people are going to be going to the performance plan. They're going to be going to the extra plan. They're going to be going to higher tier plans, or they're going to be coming from legacy plans because that's the only way that they're going to be able to get the best possible promotion. Forget about all this nonsense about, oh, the sky is falling. Oh, there's going to be insane churn because of $1, $2 increase. The only case where that is valid is in Verizon. Verizon is literally hemorrhaging customers daily. They are hemorrhaging customers daily because they are stuck in their ways that profits, that maximizing what, like you said earlier, right? That maximizing the max potential profit from the customer, it's not sustainable because guess what? They did not account this many people having so many options. T-Mobile is an option. XFinity is an option. Spectrum is an option. And other MVNOs. They did not calculate that. So that's why Verizon is hemorrhaging so many customers at the expense of, so they're going to be net ads negative, okay? But their profit is going to be up because they're hemorrhaging customers that are not as profitable, okay? But unlike FedEx, the street will not award fully a telecommunications company that's not growing, both from a revenue point of view and from a subscriber point of view.
So I'm going to just disagree ever so slightly, Moose. Telco to me is kind of like investing in a utility company. And by that, I mean established companies like AT&T don't really have huge leaps up or down. They stay somewhere in between. Look at Comcast stock. Look at even Verizon stock. The only one that's a unique use case in the telecom industry when it comes to stock prices being insane is T-Mobile. They're the only ones. Did you say Sprint Zero Cool?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, in Sprint went rock bottom down to pennies, and T-Mobile went upwards. But there are reasons that we can get into more detail if we so choose of why that happened, right? But generally speaking, though, stocks for these companies remain pretty stable. They tend to essentially keep up with inflation, essentially from a growth standpoint, and not much more than that. Like if we were to actually do the cost in the real dollars adjusted for inflation, AT&T stock would either be at or less than the value of where they like started off years ago. Also, Moose, I just want to say I never really said anything about churn. If you listened to me earlier, I was saying that the subscriber base in the US is a very well-developed, saturated market. These customer bases are going to be staying relatively stagnant. I don't see prepaid market I don't see prepaid market as a whole growing in any meaningful way, and I don't see postpaid meaningfully growing in any meaningful way. And as far as the upselling goes to like Magenta MAX and stuff like that, it's whatever. At least that's a little bit. At least that's something the consumer gets to decide on, right? A consumer can't avoid a fee that applies to all accounts, period. Everybody gets punished for that. And the only person, and AT&T didn't do anything to earn those extra dollars of revenue, right? They're just getting extra money. At least when you buy a Magenta MAX, you're actually getting something for the extra money spent, whether that be the better phone deal, whether that be the better network access, the extra hotspot, whatever. That's the problem that I have here, is that. And also, the other thing I just want to touch on is that AT&T and Verizon are doing what most for-profit companies do. they're being short-sighted and not thinking about the long-term game. And I'm not talking long-term in like 2 years or 5 years. I'm talking 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line where things look. These companies aren't thinking like that right now. Sneed, you go ahead and chime in.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be some absurd churn rate spike. I don't think people are going to exit and leave and port out the company. I think a lot of people that have AT&T like it. I think AT&T is competitive enough in its pricing in terms of like plans, and they have certain discounts. I mean, anybody can get an AARP. Some people are bundling their home internet, like Uverse with the fiber and stuff, and they're getting 25% off that way. Their phone promotions are second to none, right? They're ultra competitive with like iPhone upgrades and Galaxies, and you trade in an S2 right now, you can get an S22. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's competitive. So nobody's going to beat them when it comes to upgrading and promotions. And they're still cheaper than Verizon, right? So that means with their discounts, they're T-Mobile-ish. And in some instances, if you can get the discounts right, I don't know, military and, maybe the fiber bundle or something, like, you're cheaper than T-Mobile in some ways, right? I don't know. I'm saying, like, to me, I feel like AT&T's done a pretty nice job of finally adjusting. I'm with Moose on that, and I've had this conversation with Moose. Verizon and Hans Vestberg, they're rigid. They're not adjusting. They're flailing. I've literally been quoted. That is the terminology I've used. Verizon is flailing. They're throwing everything and the kitchen sink, trying to get customers to stay and close deals, but none of it involves doing the thing that has them losing customers, which is pricing. Because people are going to Cable Town. You know what I'm saying? They're literally packing up their stuff and they're going to Cable Town. And the only reason why I think this is important is because these customers today use a lot of Verizon data, and I'm stretching it. It's not really a lot. But these people are going to be connected to mostly hotspots. Plus, they're going to be connecting to CBRS small cells, which means less network usage on Verizon, which means less money in revenue for Verizon. My concern is for Verizon's vitality long term. They're not aggressive. They don't grow. And the wholesale agreements they have as with these MVNOs, there's not going to be much data usage anymore. Because they're going to literally go wherever there's a lot of Verizon usage, and they're going to put up small cells. And they're going to offload everything. Some of them have C-band, some of them have CBRS. They're Wi-Fi hotspots galore, right? That's where the trouble is going to be, because that's where I think they're losing the most customers.
I think a lot of Verizon customers, some of them, at least I know, have been going to Cricket. Right, Cricket's been doing really good in prepaid.
But Zero Cool, do you think AT&T is losing customers to T-Mobile? Because I don't. I'm
talking about Verizon at this point, not
okay.
AT&T.
Okay.
Verizon, a lot of their customer base have been going to Cricket. I mean, Cricket, they have 19 million prepaid at the third quarter of 2021. It's it's going up now. So at least they're the prepaid carrier that's actually doing it right. When it comes to all this monetary value, inflation, but again, to me, it's investors go to where there's proper margins, right? That's what they love. And I just think, AT&T is going to get a pass on this. I really feel that that's what they're going to be. They're going to get a pass on this, and no one's going to give a crap. And they're just going to pay it. And, that's the way I see it.
Zero Cool, can we just agree really fast, though? Can we acknowledge that what's good for the investor isn't necessarily good for the health of the company, as a general rule of thumb?
Oh, no. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Verizon has tried very hard to play good for the investor, and we've seen where that got them. They are flailing, as Sneed has put it. Although I will say, Sneed, I actually don't think the vitality of Verizon is in as dire straits as we like to think. I think they're going to be fine, and I'll explain later. But AT&T is taking the same page out of that book. Like they basically are raising prices, and while they might be competitive right now in the postpaid space at the moment, I don't really see much changing for them. Like I think most people are still going to end up on the lower value tier plan, whatever that is. AT&T Start.
Feel that's fine, but I feel that AT&T is playing the long game better than Verizon is because of what they're going to do. Yeah, they're going to increase prices, but they're getting a nice liquid asset of fiber. More fiber, more cell sites added. They're putting more investment back in the networking piece in the business, right? So I feel that they're playing the long game better, and they're beating Verizon at their own game.
A big shout out to Niraj Kumar. Appreciate you very much. Gave us the super sticker, the para character punching the air with the fist and bump written on the knuckles. Thank you so much, Niraj. Appreciate the support and making that donation. Thank you so much. With what Zero Cool was saying, I kind of thought about the double play, right? Wireless home internet. Like, why is Cabletown so successful, right? People like the simplicity of the bundle. One bill, 2-3 items, snug as a bug. They know what they're paying each month. Straight up billing. I mean, what do they hate about cable? Explosive prices. That's really the only negative.
So I'm glad you touched on that. Let's touch on that for a second. So Verizon's doing a very similar thing, right? Bundle with Get More and get 50% off of fixed wireless at $25 or get $30 off of like gig, right? Has that translated into Verizon getting more internet subscribers?
Well,
they wouldn't otherwise got.
Well, this is now Q2 of home internet. How would you guys know?
Well, we can look at Fios, the traditional Fios product, which is in the Northeast, right? Because that's been around for a very long time, right? People that are on Fios, if we look at the places where Fios exists and Comcast exists, generally speaking, Comcast, the incumbent, has the majority of the market share. And the same can be said for places where Spectrum exists, because I talked to nobody on Twitter in the spaces before, and he tells me about how like AT&T Fiber has a similar problem. Why? Why do they have the problem? The short answer is because people will switch their home internet for the best promo. So when Comcast does I know we hate explosive pricing. Like, I agree with you, Sneed. Explosive pricing sucks. But the average day consumer, when they see an incredible promo, $20 for 300 megabit per second internet and, $45 for a cell phone bill, right? So 75 total, and they're getting unlimited data and all these other things, they're going to switch to that because it's cheaper. And then if AT&T or Verizon doesn't do anything different to be cheaper, and assuming that Comcast or Spectrum or whoever renews the promo, they stay with that. They just stay. They're price sensitive on that kind of topic. Those types of customers that care about those bundles are price sensitive customers. So if you're more expensive, they're not going to care about symmetrical speeds as much as I wish they would, because fiber, we all agree on this panel, fiber is the gold standard. We love our fiber, right? Mm-hmm. But just like 5G didn't translate anything revolutionary for consumers, fiber doesn't translate to anything revolutionary for consumers for the most part, because cable, whatever you think of it, met their needs good enough.
Yeah, that's Dennis. You're absolutely right. I mean, Verizon lost 69,000 Fios subscribers in the fourth quarter, right? They have lost 283,000 Fios customers in 2021, leaving with about 3.6 million subscribers. So yes, they will go, when it comes to bundles, cheaper pricing. And no one's better doing that than Comcast, XFinity, and cable.
Yeah.
Bet you didn't think I would say that, did you?
No, I didn't. I'm just true. Look.
They actually sweetened the pot, if you think about it, right? Yeah. They came in with wireless and made it cheaper.
Right, exactly.
So they sweetened the pot like next level.
Yep.
I'm just stating a fact. Like AT&T and their bundle. Don't get me wrong. If I lived in an AT&T fiber market, I would have AT&T fiber.
See, this doesn't impact AT&T, right? Like Cabletown doing good doesn't impact AT&T at all. because they don't compete. They're always in different places.
Well, the reason I brought this up is because I believe Zero Cool has mentioned something along the lines of that AT&T is going to be fine because they got their fiber. And what I was trying to say was that places where AT&T is doing fiber isn't translating into the type of growth they were expecting to make a return on the investment in a reasonable amount of time.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
I think it will. It will. It will. It's not now, but in the future, once they get fiber out to more places,
exactly,
this will get the ROI through the roof. And this is why they're raising their price increases. They know Verizon is hedging customers. Okay, they know the bundle is where it's at for Comcast customers, right? So what do? How do you gain the most market share, the most subscribers, the most market penetration? You raise your prices, and it's like a domino effect, right? You raise your prices, you roll out more fiber, you get more subscribers, you continue the cycle. That's
so what I'm saying, and I don't think we're on two different ways. I don't think we're too far apart. What I'm trying to say is the reason AT&T is looking at raising prices is because they're not seeing the net as they were expecting from the investment. What I'm saying is the 5G upgrades that they've been doing hasn't translated into increased revenue. It's just been an increased expenditure to keep up with competition. And I'm also saying that the fiber bailed out, well, it's helping them reduce the cost of operations in those DSL areas because DSL equipment is becoming more and more expensive as the equipment becomes scarce. I'm also saying that they're not converting any additional subscribers in any meaningful percentages. Maybe they get 10% extra market share versus whatever they had before.
Right.
But it's not like the 70 to 80% takeover where they're having like the majority of the market is what I'm getting.
I completely agree with you because I would not be happy with AT&T's wireless build out to give me a return on investment. I'm not seeing anything from them. Where's they're definitely not building in places where they should. And I think AT&T, especially with their C-band rollout, right? I just really think they're falling short. They need something to pick it back up, and that is the price increases and the fiber build out.
All right, so a couple of super chats real quick here. First one from Ethan, the super sticker, Shiba Dog saying good job, raising his thumbs up. Thanks, Ethan. I appreciate it. Also the follow-up comment was, let me see if I can find it here. Is there a chance these home internet options from Verizon and T-Mobile to have synchronous upload and download? Is that just not possible from cell sites? Yeah, it's possible if it's 100 downlink and 100 uplink,
Possible in a lab, maybe, but your first thing that's going to go as you get further away from the cell site, seeing this, is your upload speed.
This is so unlikely.
You have to deal with so conditions at this point.
So. I'm going to put it this way. Is it possible? Well, sure, a lot of things are possible. Is it going to happen in the U.S.? Never.
Yeah. We got another one. This one is from Giuseppe Jimmy, the $5 super chat. Thanks so much for the support. If Verizon follows AT&T with a second price increase, T-Mobile could launch a major marketing campaign this summer, especially after the travel benefits. I mean, this is something that I mentioned in a previous video. These things that T-Mobile does, regardless of how impactful they actually are, the perception of them and the marketing approach is brilliant. They literally don't have to do anything except say how fantastic something is. And the marketing's like, oh, yeah, they're great. Verizon, the worst. AT&T, the worst. They're raising prices. T-Mobile isn't with price lock.
Before we change gears, this is important. Remember when we were talking about stock price before for wireless? Mm-hmm. This right here is the reason why T-Mobile stock is priced the way it are. They are not a telecom company in the traditional sense. They're a marketing company that happens to sell wireless service, and that's why their stock performs the way it does. Go ahead.
Let me ask you something. When have you guys seen a Verizon home internet commercial on TV?
I see it, but it's not like T-Mobile.
Not exactly. Yes, that's my point.
T-Mobile has the volume, and it's just like every time you turn around.
Yeah, it's every time. It's always in your face. Yeah. Why is Verizon not capitalizing on this to try to sell their home internet product? So that's the thing you got to kind of think about, right?
Well, you got to also think about it. Like, literally, T-Mobile is selling this everywhere. Verizon can only sell it in the top 46 PEAs.
Right.
I mean, it's literally tied to C-band, and unfortunately, that's the truth. So Where you can create the capacity, you can sell the capacity. Verizon can't create it outside of their self-inflicted top 46 PAs. That's the deal they made with the set companies.
Partially disagreeing real fast. T-Mobile markets their T-Mobile fixed wireless home internet literally everywhere, even in places that don't have ultra capacity. They'll sell it to you if you have LTE. They don't care. And is that the right thing to do? No, but they do it. Verizon, on the other hand, does a bit of a better job targeting their advertising. So if you live somewhere with ultra wideband, you will see more of the advertising. However, something that doesn't get talked about is Verizon does actually have an LTE fixed wireless product. They could sell it. They might have upset consumers about it, but they could sell it. They just choose not to. Now, does Dennis the nerd love that Verizon's being a little bit more controlled in the experience? Yes. But does Dennis also think that Verizon as a company should be spending more money on marketing various things about what they're doing? Yes, because that's the way you get in front of consumers. If you're someone that's watching this video right now, you're not the person that Verizon, T-Mobile, or AT&T needs. They don't want us, the educated, informed consumer. What they need is the consumer that throws their card on auto pay on the bill and just forgets about it. That's the consumer they need, not the one running the speed test. And those are the consumers that are Verizon that are losing the most because they strictly care about price. They don't care that the call quality sounds so much better, Sneed. They don't care that they're only getting like 720p video or 40p video if they go on T-Mobile Essentials. All they see is the price, the free line deals, and the free phones. Those are the consumers that Verizon are losing right now.
I think Verizon needs to do something quick before it's too late.
So really quickly to loop back on the audaciousness that we're hearing here about how the fiber product is not bringing in customers. Let me remind you that on the last earnings call, they said about 30% of the new net adds of the quarter was strictly tied to fiber.
So
that's 300,000 customers
Moose,
in one quarter.
You're cherry picking my quote.
No, I'm not cherry picking. You said, quote, the fiber build is not working as intended and they have to raise prices because they are not getting the return on investment they desired. That's what you said.
So let me be a little bit more specific here because you're doing what AT&T is doing right now when they talk about their increased costs. I'm saying that in targeted markets where where their fiber product is available, those localized market share ratios, right? They're not becoming the majority option for consumers in those areas. It's still traditional cable. It might be a 60-40 split or a 70-40 split, but they're not the 70% owner. So yes, they're getting net ads because they're putting fiber, thanks to government fund bucks, in places they didn't even.
That's not true on the government fund bucks everywhere. There's a lot, literally specific targeted areas. Number one. Number
Obviously,
two,
government fund bucks doesn't go everywhere, but I'm saying they're getting net ads. They're getting net ads, obviously, because they're getting customers in places where they had zero. But in existing places, go ahead.
The bigger issue is perception. People are, again, overreacting that there's literally fiber everywhere. It's still being built out. I mean, damn, the only place that you can actually say that fiber is almost 100% in almost every single place, including MDUs, multi-dwelling units, is San Diego. San Diego has pretty much almost everywhere by the end of this year, if not by mid next year, everywhere will have fiber.
So okay? Moose, let's focus for a second. In places where AT&T had existing infrastructure and upgraded from DSL to fiber, what was their percentage growth on a localized market level? Just rough ballpark. Take a guess. I'm waiting.
It's probably around... it's probably closer to 40% now.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking it is.
They're up to 40%. Like that's their market share. They might have been at 30 and they went to 40. I'm saying that investment, I'm not saying it's a bad investment. It's a good investment, but situations like that, did not yield the returns that AT&T would have expected from a fiber upgrade like that. They didn't get the market share, and there's multiple reasons for it.
So
Marketing
basically, Dennis, what you're saying is they came in expecting X amount of return in X amount of time, but they got Y amount of return in Y amount of time.
Yes.
Yeah. Think about the the 2 gig and 5 gig fiber increases that they just did. It's not enough.
Oh, and thank you, Giuseppe, for the $2 super chat. Another one from Darian. Can't wait to see AT&T C-band and DoD on air and speed tests. Hopefully these price increases means a quicker rollout of mid-band, but probably not. You're right, probably not. I actually think they're going to build it out pretty fast, relevant to price increases. I know in my market, they're doing great things. I wish it was more prevalent in other places, but I still think they're I still think they're going to overreach. They said they want to do 75 million pops by the end of the year. I think they at least get 100 million by the end of this year. And then, I don't know, they're probably going to double it in the next year and a half or 2 years. So, I've got them hitting, 200, 250 pops by the end of, 2024, mid 2024, maybe.
I'm just going to say T-Mobile's going to smoke them with their 2.5 rollout versus AT&T C-band.
We shall see.
Also, there's something really important that I want to mention really quickly. Moose, the people that AT&T does convert in these cable markets, when they do convert them, they're switching for the cheaper price and probably picking the 300 by 300 tier. Because Zero Cool touched on like the 2 gig and the 5 gig products. Those aren't the ones consumers are buying. They're buying the 300 meg, maybe the 500 meg.
Right.
So
they're not seeing those returns on like I said, on the speed tier increases.
So yeah, not only is cable company X losing money, but when they do switch, AT&T is not seeing the same profit margins that Cable X saw. And when Cable X does incredible promos to get them back, they're going to be losing that market share again anyway. Generally speaking, in the mature market, like say mine, where Fios has been forever, you'll notice that the split for market share is something like 60-40. 60% Comcast, 40% Fios. And it usually doesn't fluctuate much. If anything, it goes in the cable providers area because they're the ones that tend to do the more aggressive promos with like the Visa cards and all the other thrills. And then whenever those promos expire, they go back to Fios and so on and so forth.
See, this is why you gotta get out of the Pittsburgh mentality, because unfortunately, when we go to other markets where Spectrum, right, Charter Spectrum is, they don't do these promos that you're talking about. And if they do, it's only for 1 year. They do not extend unless you get a new ban on somebody else's last name, straight up.
I also think there's something, and Moose, you like literally just scratched on it, but you didn't dig in on it.
Mm-hmm.
They are going where Cox Communications is, and they're taking.
Yeah.
Those are slam dunks, Dennis. I literally go for a run today. I went for like a 4 or 5 mile run. My legs are linguini. I saw 5 AT&T installers in my neighborhood. 5. Each doing a different home. Those are former Cox customers. Those are slam dunk conversions, right? People are going to leave Cox without even thinking twice.
But as a devil's advocate point, what about your neighbor who's buying internet off you that refused to buy from AT&T because of their experience?
No, because they're more expensive. Because he's an existing DSL customer, he's going to have to pay $80 instead of $60.
My point is that for all those new ads, there's going to be people that
serve him. He can't even do a Zoom meeting on Cox. He has no option. What do you mean?
I'm just saying that, but assume that Cox in your neighborhood isn't the equation for the whole neighborhood.
Don't look for outliers. Look for the overall theme. What you're saying is true, and what I'm telling you is also true. Those two things happen at the same time in different places. You get what I'm saying? So there's places where AT&T is taking share, and then there's places where they're only getting a 40 split. That is 100% fact. Because we've already had conversations with No Radio about this.
Right.
He gave us the break, and I trust him. I believe him. I can see that happening. Yeah. But I'm not going to be naive. I'm not going to be naive and see where AT&T goes where there's DSL and they bury everybody.
Yeah, the thing is you have to look out for is that you can't put fiber everywhere. There's what they call you know, it's called like, you know, multi-path, you know, zoning and planning, right?
Oh,
So,
yes.
you know, it's as much as we like, but you know, you can't always overtake that market share, right? So
Big shout out to Franco. Thank you for the super chat. Dennis versus Moose. Book it, Vince. Nice. That's awesome. Very playful. Very good. Nice job there, guys. The next one was from EM Tech super chat. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Not gonna lie, the 2.5 gigabit per second announcement was kind of a slap in the face to people. Still only offered copper. Yeah, that sucks. Because you're upgrading the upgrade instead of upgrading the legacy, you know, which is sad.
And I'm gonna just come in with a hard truth that people aren't gonna like to hear, but I am willing to bet good money, Sneed, and you could quote this podcast, that similar to what Frontier did and similar to what CenturyLink did, I can see AT&T selling off a good chunk of their DSL footprint that's not profitable to upgrade to some third-party investment firm, and they just let it ride. Or they stop offering service entirely, like Verizon's been doing.
What would happen if AT&T ends up buying fiber companies? What would you say then?
AT&T buying fiber companies? Well, that doesn't go against my point of them eliminating the DSL.
But the reason why I bring that up is because if there is fiber companies in that demographic, in that area, and AT&T has DSL already there, right? Boom. Now you just got a fiber product.
I would love AT&T to buy Quest. God, I would love it.
Why not?
So I love AT&T fiber, and I think it's tremendous. But I'm going to give another hot take real quick. I don't want AT&T buying other fiber companies, and here is why. Because AT&T's implementation for fiber deployment requires for you to use their router. They don't put an ONT in place like a Verizon does, like a Google Fiber does, where you can use any consumer router. They bake all that stuff into their personal router, and they don't let you use any other piece of equipment. They won't even let you...
Dennis, that's only going to matter to people who have seen or had that option.
Yes, but there's a reason why this is an important thing, is because if AT&T becomes the main driver for how fiber is done, they set the precedent, they send the pacing for how the industry goes. That's a net negative for all of the US broadband customers.
You need multiple fiber providers in order to get that. You need like in order to have like that customization, being able to run your own modem, your own gateway, your own router solution, like you controlling everything from the ONT on. You need 2 fiber providers.
Well, or we need regulation, or we need regulations in place, because
that's not happening, Dennis.
Well, there's a reason why cable companies are forced to allow you to use your own equipment on their network. There's been multiple lawsuits that force that precedent to be in place. That's the reason why third-party modems are allowed to exist and have to be used and supported. And AT&T gets around that loophole with their fiber product. They're one of the only
they
ones.
Also don't charge for the gateway. If they charged for the gateway, then it would be a bigger issue. I think you'd have more up, backlash and uproar.
And by the way, I just have to say this, and I want to say this to everybody on the podcast. The opinion of not having your own router is extremely outlier. People want everything to be taken care of.
Moose.
That is a fact. Because if they didn't, now go ahead.
Moose, that gear from a lot of these places is trash.
Of course.
And the reason it's trash is because they have to have national supply, right? So
let me ask you this.
Who can make the most of these units, and I can get it out to customers ASAP?
If hypothetically T-Mobile Home Internet or Verizon Home Internet told you, if you buy a $700 router and it's your own router, we'll give you a $10 discount, how many people do you think actually will do that? And
Moose,
do the math.
A lot of people
Moose, you're missing the point. That's not the issue that I have here, Moose. The issue that I have here, okay, is that for the most part, rented equipment that comes from these companies arbitrarily locks out features in the software that literally prevent me from setting up my network for how it needs to be to support all my different devices. I need port forwarding. This is a non-negotiable thing. Port forwarding must be a feature that is supported. It's a basic requirement, and every single freaking business customer on the face of the earth needs that feature. It's a non-negotiable.
Yeah,
And
I had to make my own router connected to the the AT&T fiber modem, with port forwarding. So I had to build my own open source router and proxy server from scratch, just because of it. So,
and Moose, I might be that minority. You're right. AT&T might have great software that they come out with that does port triggering for the consumer without them having to make any adjustments. I believe in competent developers to do that, okay? But that's not the problem here. The problem here is that if AT&T wants to sell 5 gig service, right? The only people that are buying that 5 gig product are going to be power users like myself, and we cannot be tied down to a router that is restrictive. You can't even put it into bridge mode without having to watch like an hour-long YouTube tutorial just to get that thing working. It's a poor solution, and it's honestly more expensive for AT&T too. It's cheaper just to give us the ONT than to make this like combo gateway that's costing them like $500 or whatever they're paying for it. So
you also gotta you guys gotta think about like, okay, so and this excuse me, this is the commentary about them buying fiber providers. We really, really don't want that. There is a precedence from AT&T where they're basically like Thanos, right? They snap their fingers and they make companies disappear. They swallow them. They take the customer share. They do nothing, right? They need competition. AT&T's not really friendly. They haven't done nice things in the past. And they haven't been consumer friendly for a long time, and they were worse before. They're better now than they used to be. But honestly, like if you take, for example, what Darian is saying with his super chat, thanks, Darian. AT&T buying one fiber company, then the next thing you know, they're trying to buy them all because they're AT&T. And that's the last thing we want. We need other companies fiercely competing for our business. Even if a city has municipal fiber, there still should be one or two other options for home internet. There really should be. They should exist. There should be private companies, right, that are either publicly traded or privately owned or whatever. There needs to be options. We're moving backwards if we lose options. It's as simple as that. And how many instances can we name off the top of our head where shrinking in the market led to consumer wins? It's few and far in between, so I totally agree that's the last thing we want to see happen. Giuseppe Jimmy came in with the super chat. AT&T's debt schedule makes hard to buy enough. That's true. They have a lot of debt, and they're about to start having to pay that because rates are going up.
Also, can I just say one other quick thing real fast? And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Just because a company offers a fiber home internet product doesn't instantly mean it's going to be good. If you go on the Reddit, like on Reddit, AT&T subreddit, you'll see people that complain about AT&T's fiber. There are places where AT&T fiber had issues. Sneed, I know when you first got installed for AT&T fiber, I know it was a new install and everything, but you had some hiccups along the way, right?
Nothing that $1,000 in credits couldn't take care of.
Right, but my point being is that there was hiccups along the way, or there was like my Fios install, right? For 6 months, my Fios was not usable. Now it's rock solid. I sing its praises, right? But could you imagine if Verizon was literally my only option? I would have been out of a job, right?
Yeah.
So Moose, I would not want AT&T buying any more companies, especially with not how AT&T currently conducts themselves and based off their current track record.
I'm just saying this recession is going to definitely push the envelope and how many bankruptcies are going to happen because the cost of labor is going to increase. The cost of the fiber is going to increase. Corning is going to charge more. The router manufacturer is going to charge more. The switching, the switches are going to cost more. Everything is costing more. I've seen it.
But but at the end of the day, when you look at actual like cost to offer a gig for AT&T, right? You're talking about going from 0.000000001 of a penny to 0.0000001. Like it's like one less zero to them. Like
how much it costs for. You really want to know how much it costs for Sneed's whole neighborhood upgrade? It was not like 0.0001. No, dude.
I'm not talking about the upfront investment cost.
Guess how much it's going to cost to do an upgrade, and then when is the return on investment?
The average cost to connect up a typical residential home with fiber is $25,000.
I'm talking about a neighborhood of about 50
All right,
homes.
Moose, you're missing my point though. You're talking about oranges, and I'm talking about the actual, like, once that fiber is installed, okay, Moose. Like, once the upfront cost is gone, it's basically free money. It's a money printer. It's like the PAL meme where AT&T is just going, brr, give me those profits, because it's so cheap to offer a gig of data. Like, it's gone down every single year that's gone by with time. Offering a gig of data has become cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And not to mention that because AT&T is a tier 1 fiber provider and more traffic's being pushed over the networks than ever, they're actually triple dipping. They're making money off their peering
Yeah, but
agreements.
here's the thing, Dennis. Very few companies and entities are willing to put tens of millions of dollars on fiber projects up front. Very few are willing to take on that risk, that investment, and the time commitment. I mean, think about the project management that goes into it. All the support that's required, the orders, all of those, like, it's all part of it. We can't look at it from a single track. What does the gig cost, or what does the one customer cost? It isn't that. That's you simplifying it. And in the grand scheme of things, like 50 years of operations, okay, fine. You could look back and say, all right, 50 years, 50 properties, 12 months in a year. We could do the math on the revenue generated. But you're looking down the line. That's like telling somebody who's a millionaire, you're mad in 50 years when they made $200 million. Like, yeah, they invested early on and they cashed out. You can't be mad at a company for doing that. I mean,
you look at it from like a market by market basis. That's what you do. You plan. Even in fiber, you say, this many subscribers we can hook up. This is how many we're going to have at the last mile. This is the profit we're going to expect. And so on. When you get like expected profits, once you realize how much that you're going to have, then your cost of gigabyte can decrease at that point. So
okay.
Right. And to answer your question, by the way, I imagine Moose's upgrade probably cost AT&T roughly $15 million. I'm gonna guess.
No, the Sneed's neighborhood cost approximately $675,000. If 50 homes in that neighborhood get the 55 plan, okay, which would be about 50 homes multiplied by 55 a month.
100 homes.
2750. Okay. So 675 divided by 2750 is 245, right? 245 months divided by 12 months would mean that in 20 years, if everybody was at the lowest possible tier, you will make up that 675. Welcome to the reality land, because everybody is literally saying the same thing, that, oh yeah, after and in 50 years, yeah, 50 years, but it takes 20 years to make up that investment if 100% attainment over the course of the 20 years. Welcome to reality. And by the way, I do have to say this, because a lot of people have been just mouthing off a lot in the past couple weeks. The rollout is going to surprise a lot of people. The C-band rollout is surprising a lot of people. Even Sneed recently called me the other day, and he was like, hey, 3.4 and 3.7 in the same site. CLE. Hashtag wait for the video. Wait for the video.
Hey,
I'm
Moose,
telling you right now.
Moose, on your 20-year thing, right, for your return on investment, I just want to call a spade here. You don't go into the telecom industry thinking you're going to get an ROI than anything less than 20 years.
Yeah, but that's the thing, Dennis. AT&T knows that. All these companies know that. Like, I understood your sentiment. You said that they didn't get where they wanted to go in some places, but in other places they have, and they've gone beyond. They're going to take every customer in my neighborhood. They're going to be 90-10. I guarantee you, when it's all said and done, they're 90-10. Cox doesn't know how to succeed. They don't know how to get out of their own way. Right? So AT&T is going to win here. Let me get to this super chat here. Yacom has a new T-Mobile home internet router with port forwarding. I've never heard of that company. I didn't know they were even doing that. Very cool. Thank you, MS. Appreciate you sharing that. There was another comment from someone. I'm going to see if I could find it. It was good. It caught my attention, but you guys are engaging, and I didn't want to disrupt it. And
Yeah, I mean, the
Anyways.
simple thing is you go after market share first, ROI second. That's the way I look at it, right?
Oh yeah, market
Pretty
share is
much.
important. You got to have customers, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. You got to take some money to make money, right?
A customer
Right.
that's paying $10 is better than an open port doing nothing. So
Yeah, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Hey, let's get to the next story. We're literally an hour in, and we got like 2 stories. I want to get to the third one. AT&T fixed wireless access is a stopgap tool, but fiber is the main focus. So we're still on AT&T and fiber, I suppose. All right. So the statement here is coming from Jeff McElfresh in what they're calling the transformation program. And it is starting to mature. It's helping the company drive better operational efficiencies. So remember, we were talking about cost cutting. We were talking about leaning out, trimming the fat, and the company just being able to make more money, right? Increasing revenues, decreasing overhead costs. When asked where AT&T intends to increase its fixed wireless access, for those of you out there that don't know what that is, that's Cellular Wireless Home Internet. The same mobile network, in this case, becomes the home internet network. The build out in response to pressures from competitors, T-Mobile and Verizon. Jeff McElfresh said that the company continues to see fixed wireless access as a stopgap measure that AT&T will use in areas where it doesn't plan to deploy fiber. Is fixed wireless a tool to be used for a particular segment that doesn't have access to fiber? Yes, but it is not the majority of our growth agenda. Okay, so I have to ask you guys, does this sound like AT&T is going to start doing a little bit more fixed wireless access? Or is it more of the same where they're basically saying, we don't believe in this, we're focusing on fiber, we're just pandering to your question?
I think AT&T will do fixed wireless primarily along the East Coast, which is where they don't have really any of their own fiber, as a way to generate more revenue and as a way to basically get some free money essentially because it doesn't cost anything to offer the fixed wireless product, really, right? So I think they'll do it on the East Coast. I think they'll do it for certain DSL areas where like the cost to do fiber just out of their own pocket just does not make sense. Going back to return on investment, it'd be like a 50-year return on investment to do if they did it with fiber. But for the most part, I think AT&T is going to keep their focus on their fiber build out, especially in profitable areas, because in the long term, it makes more sense, especially as they have to run fiber anyway to their cell sites to provide these higher capacitive network experiences.
I think they'll do fixed wireless in areas where I'm going to agree with Dennis, in areas where they have DSL and they just cannot get fiber in there, or maybe too expensive, or they don't think that they're going to get an ROI from a fiber rollout in a certain market or two. The thing about fixed wireless is that they'll in certain market they'll be able to serve get a high, like, let's put it this way, they're going to be able to higher ROI than DSL, per on an ARPU basis. So I think that's what he means in the statement. There is, they're starting to say, we'll put it out in DSL areas, get a better return on investment for areas that we can't roll out fiber.
All right, so here's my take. And then Moose, you're going to cross-check me on this. 500,000 fixed wireless subscribers for AT&T. McElfresh says we're no stranger to fixed wireless. Nobody cares. Their fixed wireless has been available for a decade. They have 500,000 subs. It has gone nowhere. T-Mobile has been selling fixed wireless access for less than 2 years on its official launch. They exceeded this like a year ago.
Sneed, you know why no one cares, though? No one cares because the fixed wireless product that AT&T offers is overpriced, has a 300 gigabyte data cap or less, depending on area, and the equipment that they have you use is a hotspot that literally uses Wi-Fi G, so it caps out at 42 megabits per second. And
So why?
at best.
So what? How does? I mean, those are good things to know, but that doesn't change the outcome. That just explains why people don't want it.
But what I'm saying is, if AT&T wanted to turn it around and make it like an actual viable product, all they'd have to do is 3 simple changes: adjust price, provide equipment that actually at least supports Wi-Fi AC or better, and just take advantage of the excess capacity in areas where they've been deploying their C-band. That's it.
I'm looking at it from an even more basic fundamental standpoint. Watch what carriers do. Do not listen to what carriers say. They're full of crap. They are not going to do fixed wireless access at any type of scale at all. He's even saying it's going to be situational. I don't even want to give it that much credit. They have clearly said time and time again, and it's shown in their build. They said they were going to do fiber. They said fiber is their primary, and that's what they've done. That's what carriers are doing. Him pandering to people. This is the 10th time people have asked him about fixed wireless access. He's pandering to the questions. He does not want to answer it honestly, which is we don't really care about fixed wireless. That's the truth. And look, here, what does it say right here? 3.5 to 4 million locations with fiber this year versus 500,000 fixed wireless customers over the last decade. What are we really talking about here? Can we just talk about like multipliers?
I mean, he's more likely to roll out Honda's Croc skin leather shoes than fixed wireless access.
They don't want to do fixed wireless. They don't care to do fixed wireless. They're not in. The only way fixed wireless is really going to scale is you have to do it like Verizon and T-Mobile, which is with the gateway that Dennis was talking about. Just it has to be easy to set up, and it just has to be low cost, and they can ship it and they can supply it, and it's easily accessible from tower sites, and it requires very little
well,
setup.
I'm going to tell you a fun fact that you probably didn't know. You know my fancy pants Ubiquiti Dream Machine Pro? You can get a AT&T SIM card and an AT&T plan as like a backup essentially for that puppy. In case your primary home internet connection goes down, you can have a cellular backup. AT&T is the one that sells that SIM card. Nobody else. AT&T. So they do have a fixed wireless product. It's just that the consumer one, or the one that we're talking about, is very bad. The one that AT&T actually supports or cares about or is actually pretty good is more targeted and geared towards business customers. It's for your servers. It's for your big, large-scale enterprise companies who have warehouses in the middle of nowhere. Those are the ones that get the full high-speed capacitive network that AT&T provides. And I'm saying that AT&T may be willing in situational instances to offer a better consumer product for the DSL footprint or for the East Coast, places where they don't intend to plan fiber because they're going to be doing those upgrades anyway. And like how T-Mobile wanted to raise ARPU and recover costs and generate money from these 5G upgrades, I feel like AT&T would be willing to do the same. I don't think AT&T is just going to leave money on the table because fiber is their primary, if that makes sense.
Okay, so Moose, look at the terminology. Fixed wireless
Moose
access.
dropped.
Moose dropped? Okay, because I was going to get him in this. All right, it says fixed wireless access is a stopgap tool. You call something a stopgap, that means you're not taking it seriously. There's no way anybody should have any, confidence that fixed wireless access is going to scale. And in fact, if I was an analyst, if I was a journalist, if I was asking questions to Mikkel Fresh or any of these people myself, I would stop asking this question. This is getting ridiculous. They ask this question about fixed wireless every freaking time they speak at these conferences. Stop. They're not doing fixed wireless. They don't care. It's going to be like if they have 500,000 now, I expect them to have 550,000 10 years from now. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, but right. real quick, and Tim actually highlighted this. He said Spectrum big cable owns most of the fiber on the East Coast. And that's the truth. East Coast, fiber-wise, owned by like Comcast and Spectrum. They own most of it. Verizon has a little bit of it. Layer 3 has a little bit of it. Cogent has a little bit of it. But ultimately, all of them are connecting into the iBone from Comcast. It's all eventually going over Comcast fiber. So how does AT&T, justify upgrades along the East Coast? How do they maximize their money that they're making? How do they support these little random patches of DSL customers they have on the East Coast? It's not to build out fiber here. It would be ridiculously expensive for them. The more cost-effective solution for at least for the next 20 years would be fixed wireless. And that's the reason why I think AT&T situationally and location dependently would focus on a fixed wireless solution for those particular areas.
Bro, I'm not even joking. And big shout out to Tana. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming through, homie. I think I've had like 7 people in the lifetime of my channel tell me that they had fixed wireless from AT&T. Maybe less.
HughesNet.
Maybe
It's better than HughesNet.
it's not about it being better. I'm just saying in terms of availability. It's so rare. Like maybe a few people have mentioned they're like, "Oh, I have AT&T's fixed wireless." And like from the information I gathered, it's like weird spectrum frequency bandwidth combo with this weird gear that goes up outside of your house, up on your roof or something, and it's not great. Like the equipment that they give you is like limited in terms of what it can actually do. So like it's not good.
Be like, hey, you got AT&T fixed wireless? Yeah.
Well, do you want to change gears off AT&T because we gave them an hour and 10 minutes of our mental energy and capacity? I know you have one last topic lined up that I feel like would be fun.
Yeah. XFinity Mobile 1 month in, man. So I'm fresh off the heels of using US Mobile for a couple of weeks. That sucked. The customer care agent that I dealt with in activation was not good. It was painful. So many unnecessary steps. I mean, I know they want to be secure, but like a couple of the things were stupid and prevented me from getting active. I was probably talking to the chat agent for like 3 hours. It was horrible. The service was bad. There was buffering video. Speeds generally were slow when I tested them on Ookla. It did not feel like Verizon QCI 8 because I know Verizon QCI 8, and it didn't feel like that when I was using it. XFinity Mobile feels like Verizon QCI 8. It feels very much like it. So for those of you out there, now that I've been using it for a month, I feel confident endorsing this as a Verizon postpaid substitute. You're not losing much, if anything, going from Verizon postpaid to XFinity Mobile. It's been pretty good. I got it on my iPhone 12 Pro. I have access to the ultra-wideband suite. The portfolio of N77 C-band plus mmWave is there. When connected to that, it doesn't count against your data usage, right?
What about Wi-Fi calling? Is that?
Oh, yeah.
You're connecting to hotspots. Now, unfortunately, I don't have that market here, right? Like this is a Spectrum market. So I can't really speak to that. I'd love to. I mean, I can get out to
So
the
you should be
Berg
able to connect the Spectrum hotspots, actually, and we could talk about that after the show to help you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna start experimenting with that. Dennis, like I've been working at the bakery like crazy, but like normally I'd be out a little bit. Like in the summer, I have more time, but I definitely want to do that because I want to go to like shopping centers where there's stores where they use Spectrum as their provider.
You just need an Xfinity ID to get a certificate downloaded on your phone, and once it's there, you'll be good.
Yeah, and then I can kind of comment to like how frequently I'm connecting to those things,
But yeah, on the topic of Wi-Fi calling, real quick, 'cause you're cool. Trust me when I say Xfinity wants you using Wi-Fi everything as much as possible because every time you're on the Wi-Fi, they're not paying Verizon.
Right? No, I know.
But go ahead, Steve. Sorry, continue.
I noticed, like just from speed testing, that once I used a certain amount of data beyond their little threshold,
20 gigs,
some of that fast.com stuff starts to kind of be managed. But if you're just using your phone as normal, you don't notice it. I didn't feel it. I had to actually like test to actually look at the numbers and be like, oh, well, I know that this site is faster. Here's my Verizon line. I can compare it. But like for somebody who uses 15 to 20 gigs normal, dude, it's money in the bank. Right? Priority access, and you got all these like hotspots you can connect to, and you get all the ultra wideband and all that. It's been great. I've been consuming tons of video. That's primarily what I've been doing. So it's been good. I'm pleasantly surprised because I'm coming off the US Mobile complete choke job. And I'm not even doing a full review on the US Mobile, honestly. I get the impression my experience is an anomaly. My just the sentiments I get from people is they're very satisfied and happy with US Mobile. So I think maybe I should give them another shake in the near future, try again. And
I
See
mean,
what
it's
happens.
valid. Your experiences are valid, but I'll just say my experience with US Mobile are polar opposite to yours. When I tested US Mobile on my iPhone 11, I would have agreed with you. When I tested it again on my iPhone 12 Pro Max, night and day difference. I had a good
I used the
experience.
12 Pro. Mine was on a 12 Pro. It was on an eSIM. I don't know, man.
I used a physical SIM, so
Yeah, physical SIM on the XFinity piece has been great. I don't know. It's been good, you know. I wouldn't have any reservations replacing Verizon with XFinity Mobile to save the money and still retain QCI 8, which is important in some instances. Let's ban 13 only size, dog. Dennis, you know.
And let's not forget, too, the XFinity Mobile plan did get better than when we first initiated your starting. You got the 5 gigs of high-speed hotspot now, too.
Yeah, so that kind of sweetens the pot, right? And I got to test that, too. I got to see how that works. And
well, I texted you earlier. You're at like 48 gigs. So you're going to have to wait till next bill cycle.
Oh, man, I've been using it, bro.
Oh, but that's fine, though. That's the point of it, right?
How close am I to restart?
We're 14 days out, bro.
14 days?
Yeah.
Sheesh, man, it's going to be close. I'm pushing up against our little arbitrary number, aren't I?
Yeah, but I'll give you the warning. I'll let you know.
All right, Sneed, lay it down for a week.
but yeah, no, I mean, as far as I go, I personally rank US Mobile and XFinity Mobile as like tied substitutes, in my opinion, for Verizon. And
you're not spending all that money, too. You're saving a ton.
Yeah, and I'll be really excited to see what happens with Mobile X when we did our show with Peter, because I think that solution would be a better fit for people that don't actually need unlimited, i.e., like if you look at Xfinity's pricing for like their buy the gig plans, they're great if you can share multiple family members on those buy the gig plans, but it's kind of squeamish, you know. By that I mean, like, Sneed, I don't know if you knew this or not, but like, I'm just using a hypothetical here. Let's just say you had 10 lines, right? Hypothetically speaking, if you could somehow manage to share 1 gig of data, you could have 10 lines for like $15. I'm just saying hypothetical. Now, is that realistic? Not really, but it's a thing, right? But on the same token, like if what Peter's doing is somehow cheaper than that, then that might be a better option than what exists from Xfinity's offering or US Mobile's offering, you know? We'll see, though.
I got big hopes for Mobile X, man. I think it's going to be great.
I think more choices are always good choices, in that I'll definitely be happier once we get more meat, more product out there, more beta testers that can talk about it in the same way that I had my reservations when it came to Dish, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, right now I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I've gotten to see a glimmer of what it was, and it made me feel a little bit more optimistic about it, which is why I'm excited.
I just wanted to share. Where is that picture? Here it is. Okay. I'm going to do a screen share with you guys just as a teaser, just because you guys watched all the way to the end. All right. Just because. I'm going to give you guys a close-up look at AT&T's 2 C-band antenna radio combos, the 3.45 gigahertz and the 3.7 gigahertz combos. So the two frequencies, the way AT&T did this was because of their auction purchases. They were involved in Spectrum Auction 110, right? They were involved in Spectrum Auction 107. Those two auctions they're both C-band. One's in the 3.7, one's in 3.45. The 3.7 was the big one. You can get a lot more spectrum in that auction. The 3.45 allowed them to supplement what they got in the 3.7 auction. But because of that, and today, where we're at, I think the integrated radio that can do both frequencies is the missing link. And that's on the FCC, and that's on AT&T, and that's on vendors. It's on everybody, all right? So they're all to blame. But I want to show you guys what you're looking for if you see this, okay? So let me go ahead and do a screen share. I'm going to show you guys a picture. Big shout out to the Google Pixel 6 Pro that takes amazing photos and has much better zoom than any other phone I have. All right, so let me see if this works better. Why can't I make us disappear? Whatever. I hate this. Okay. I'll just have to zoom in a little bit. Okay, that's all I could do for you guys. Okay.
StreamYard, man. StreamYard's where it's
I
at.
know. So here are the two pieces of gear that you're going to want to look at. All this stuff over here, this is very typical of AT&T. This has all of your standard legacy LTE stuff. Okay, so like band 14, band 12, band 2, band 66, band 30. All that stuff is here in these two. All right, actually I think this one is the band 30 and the band band 30. These two here in the middle, the smaller squarish ones. First of all, it's Nokia as the vendor. And second of all, the bottom one is the 3.7 gigahertz. The top one is the 3.45 gigahertz. Again, this is Nokia as the vendor. They are separate antennas, separate radios, and then somehow, some way, when we get this connected and we're testing it, we're going to be seeing 40 megahertz from this one, 40 megahertz from this one. But on your phone, it's going to say 5G plus, and you're going to be connected to 80 megahertz of N77. That's the game plan.
Sneed, real quick question for clarification purposes. Is the S22 Ultra the S22 family of phones the only phones that can actually connect to the full 80 megahertz suite?
No, the iPhone can as well.
The 13 Pro Max, it's been certified?
Any iPhone 13 generation.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the 13s were on the approved list or not from AT&T because I know there was that whole.
So here's my process on that. If you look at the AT&T numbers of like what phones they sell, it's 9-1. iPhone to whatever else. All of them, all the non-iPhones combined get 1 out of every 10 phones. So that means out of every 100 phones they sell, maybe 10 people have some form of an Android. And I bet you of those 10% Androids, 90% of those are Galaxies. Right? So the Galaxy S22 probably, or 21, whatever it is. If the iPhone doesn't support this, it is a huge, massive failure. Like mega fail. Because that's the AT&T phone, is the iPhone. It is their phone. They literally, the iPhone came out and it was an AT&T exclusive.
I remember.
Like the legacy to this, right? Like the precedence to this. So if the phone doesn't do it, I swear, this is not an overstatement. If I was AT&T, I wouldn't put up the gear.
Listen,
if the AT&T can't do 3.45, I would not be putting up the antennas radios.
Listen, Sneed, trust me when I say I remember, because the iPhone is what tanked AT&T's 3G network, especially in New York. I remember. But also, Sneed, if you remember earlier this year, I swear you covered this, and I swear it was on your show. Weren't we talking about how the iPhone wasn't necessarily on the list because AT&T was saying phones that were not sold, that were sold last year and older, won't be getting support for 3.45? I swear that was a conversation we had on this show, wasn't it? We had a whole fiasco about the iPhone 12s too being on that list, and
we've seen a couple of messed up things. The Google Pixel 5, for whatever reason, won't get C-band support at all. Even though it's hardware enabled, like modem level, it's there. They're not gonna turn it on. It's not certified, firmware updated.
So have we confirmed the 13's been certified at this point?
Yeah. Okay. Internally from AT&T, that's what we know.
Okay.
So I would be shocked if that information ended up being wrong, but I don't know. I guess crazier things have happened in wireless.
So those beautiful panels up there, man. Those antennas. So your 3.45 runs on TDD, and guess
what does the 3.7 run on, sir?
Well, you can actually do the TDD on 3.7 as well. But guess what else runs on TDD? 2.5. Yeah, and guess what? AT&T's
I know where you're going with this, Zero Cool. Don't do
good.
it.
Okay, good.
The ghost of Randall? Are you serious?
The ghost of Randall's coming back for this auction.
Are you saying AT&T is going to buy 2.5
2.5.
gigahertz in the upcoming auction?
That's a very, 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 very good chance. Yes.
I hope they don't, because honestly, 2.5. This is another hot take I have to say. Out of all the mid-band spectrum I got to experience so far, I feel like 2.5 has been the most underwhelming in its propagation characteristics.
Yeah, because the thing is that the goal is to get all these carriers on FDD, but it was auctioned off as TDD spectrum, right? So you can only do it. You don't have that separation between your downlink and uplink. So with that, you can push more power, right? Yeah, I cannot wait for this auction. I swear to God, like it's gonna be like, I'm glad it's happening late in July. I will be paying attention to it and reveling in every minute of it that goes on.
Well, Sneed, I just want to quickly say as well, the reason why I was asking for clarification about the iPhone 13 is because the site over in Monaco, which has been upgraded, I wasn't getting the other 40 megahertz. I was only getting the 40 megahertz of normal C-band when I was doing my network.
Were you able to confirm that there were 2 sets of hardware?
I'll have to go back and double check. I know I sent pictures to Carlos the night that I had like a freaking stroke and like screamed on screen and made him think that I got into a wreck or something. But I'll have to double confirm while it's daylight out.
All right. Tech guy is mentioning that it would require an iOS carrier update. I believe it's already done. Like that's what the internal is at AT&T. The iPhone's enabled. The firmware has it. We're good. It would. Okay, so if the Galaxy is the only phone that could do it, like let's say that was hypothetical what it is, 10% of your freaking phones are going to do it?
Yeah, but the iPhone 14 is coming out this year, so.
Though my guess is they're going to, so when the iPhone 14 comes out, they're going to roll out all C-band capabilities to iPhone 14.
Yeah, but they knew this auction was coming. They knew they needed phones to connect.
Yeah, I know. It just takes time. So once the iPhone 14 comes out, and also they're going to support the S22 as well as iPhone 14. So it just takes a bit. Usually what happens on these, they'll test with, on these new frequency rollouts, they have to test with what we call an already known well-sourced phone. And that's usually
the Galaxy S22.
It's the S21 because it's the phone that happened last year. It's
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It's on a timed kind of like basis. So it's like
we see T-Mobile doing that with all their NR carrier aggregation, right?
Yes, exactly. So you have to, the reason why you test with the phone that supports it, right off the rip. And since a lot of people do have the the S21, we use that as a base phone to do the testing on. Yes, it's going to get on the S22 and iPhone 14, but you have to have something to start with in order to test out the carrier aggregation, the range, the handoffs, the UE, user equipment, uplink and downlink. There's a lot of crap you got to test. So, but I'm if I wish AT&T, I'm hoping that, Moose is right. I'm hoping they do something great. After the auction, I could really see a nice, 3.45, 3.7, 2.5, eventually in the future FDD carrier combination to push out mid-band. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens in the auction, right? So.
Yeah, I'm looking at it more as an investment. I don't think they're going to put it on air. If AT&T or any other carrier does anything with 2.5, they're just playing disruptor.
They would look
they're
at
playing
it.
landlord. They're playing, I don't see it.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Anything else before they go to the order?
I just want to say thank you as always for having us on the show. I
Thanks,
think that this was a great panel that you picked out. I'm sad Moose got the drop off, but Moose, if you're rewatching this or still watching this, I love you, brother, and I always enjoy our conversations. Zero cool. Same to you, my friend. For everybody that's still watching this show, and if you're looking for more content, Sneed and I actually did a live stream before the show on the Best Phone Plans channel where we determined a winner of a little network test that I did together. So I definitely recommend checking that out. That was uploaded at like 6:15. So definitely go rewatch that. It's not too long. And then there's also a video that Stetson uploaded on his channel, Stetson Doggett, talking about Mint Mobile and their deflationary pricing promos if you're trying to look for a cheaper option on the T-Mobile network.
Trying to get that company sold off. Yeah, hashtag hawking the carrier. Ryan Reynolds, man, freaking what is it? Deadpool Mobile. He's trying to sell it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I thought he would have that carrier forever.
Anybody trying to buy a carrier right now? Like, seriously?
No.
I'm just trying to get steak and scallops, dog.
You know, real
Right.
talk, real talk, Sneed. I could see T-Mobile maybe buying Mint.
I could too. Yes, I was just thinking that. I could see T-Mobile buying Mint. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could see that.
You guys think that doesn't get regulated?
No.
I'm just saying I could see that happening because
I can see that
T-Mobile,
happen.
because T-Mobile's Metro PCS brand kind of has a bad stigma, so I could see them wanting like, kind of how like Verizon has Verizon Prepaid, and they have Visible, right? Most people don't consider Visible Verizon, although they have been remarketing their marketing
Guys,
around it.
how many mergers do you think T-Mobile needs?
No, I can hold on. I can already see the commercials for this. Actually, we love Ryan Reynolds, so we made him Magenta. Here he is.
A Magenta Fox, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my god, I could see the color changing. You're right.
We love Ryan. We made him Magenta.
But then the face kind of changes into like Mike Sievert a little bit, right? And then there's like a Neville Fox that like peeps around the corner. He's like,
Dude, I don't think T-Mobile needs any other mergers. I'm just saying it's something I could see happening. They would be the most likely purchaser to acquire Mint. I'm just saying because Mint's probably the biggest MVNO or one of the largest ones on the T-Mobile network.
yeah.
So I mean, it makes sense. They did
They're
that with
also
Metro.
the only MVNO that supported the T-Mobile and Sprint merger.
I guarantee you a Magenta Deadpool 3.
When is the next Deadpool?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that happening?
Also, I'm not sure, but also wait, I thought of a better way to do this. Instead of changing the Mint Fox, that's like the dude Fox, they'll introduce a new character. It'll be Mrs. Fox, and she'll be the pink one.
Oh,
Mrs.
no.
Fox.
Yeah, that will be the thing, bro. That will be the thing.
Probably will be.
Yeah, this is getting crazy. We're gonna stop it at that.
Steve's beard is tremendous. Yeah.
John snuck in at the end, right at the buzzer, man. Very Kobe-esque. The beard, tremendous. Yeah, thanks, John. I appreciate it, man. I'm pooped though. I got to get off this thing, man. I'm exhausted, and I got a couple of things I got to do. I got a couple of recordings. I got some images that I'm going to share with you guys, and got to work on this content, man. It's freaking laughing. Ryan Reynolds wearing a furry fox suit. You guys are crazy. Isn't there like a furry convention like every year?
Yes,
All
in
right.
Pittsburgh. In Pittsburgh, there is. Also, since you mentioned this, on my trip to Put-in Bay, however you pronounce it,
Put-in Bay?
there was actually a ton of furries there because it was like a pirate fest thing that was going on over there too, and there was a ton of furries dressed up in like pirate costumes. So
Hashtag no furries. That's it. We out this piece. Peace.